What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, another special Kickstarter review, and today I'm very excited to check out the Bermuda Crisis Discovery Dawning from Lysander Games and Out of Space Games. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 plus, so it'll take you about 30 plus minutes to play. And in the Bermuda Crisis, you are going to be going to the Bermuda Triangle or something and getting goods and resources, and I don't know, the theme kind of falls to the wayside. This is a game where you are going to be trading and trying to do numerous different paths to victory, trying to manipulate your way to the top in the way that you want to try and do it. What am I talking about? Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of the Bermuda Crisis Discovery Dawning. Before we get started, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy in front of you, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt. First and foremost, we get our handy dandy rule booklet, which is, let's see, it's about 15 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, all the stuff you like to see in a well-done rule booklet. And this one is redundant. It repeats itself a lot, but it's still a well-done rule booklet. And actually, it's currently a work in process, because this is the rule booklet I used, and it's improved over the one I just showed you, so hopefully it is still a work in progress. So in the Bermuda Crisis, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to be the first person to race to 14 points. These are the points right here. They're going to be scattered on all kinds of different cards that you could potentially earn. Also on your basic or advanced skill map, which is in front of you. Essentially, in this game, you are going to be trying to earn these points by doing a couple different things. You might be trying to complete special objectives, which are on these catalyst cards right here, which are just secret objectives that you need to complete. And also, you might notice it says -7 +8. That depends on how many points you have, because as you get closer to winning, the objectives are going to become more difficult. You might also potentially be trying to build different buildings on here, and as you probably could have guessed, the different buildings on your basic skills map are going to allow you to gain points and also special abilities. So if I were to build this right here, it would cost me 2 lumber and 2 stone right there, and I'd put this little cube, or the little victory point in there to symbolize that I have a victory point. And now, once per turn, you may discard up to 3 resources to draw an equal amount of new resources, which is great because I'm going to need those resources to build more buildings and also do various different things. So that is another potential way you can win. Now, well, there's also a lot of these cards. You might notice that they have leaves on the back of them. That's another path to victory, because if the game timer runs out, it's not whoever has the most victory points, it's whoever has the most leaf points right there, and that is a completely viable and realistic strategy to try and make the game end as quick as possible. Because what's going to happen is each time someone draws an artifact card, which I'll show you in a little bit, there's going to be a little boop that's going to go around, and it's going to go around this hourglass. Now, the game doesn't end the first time you get around the hourglass, because right here you're actually going to take what's called a stability stone. You're going to take that away, and then you'll start back on the 5, and then eventually you will do to the finish. And if it ends like that, whoever has the most leaf points on their cards or on their venture cards, which we'll talk about in a minute, they will win the game. So those are going to be the different ways you can win the game. Numerous paths to victory. So on your turn, what's going to happen? Let's go over the components, and I'll get a little bit into the gameplay. So the 2 main kind of cards you're going to be dealing with are going to be goods cards. And there's commons goods, and there are rare goods. And common goods are going to be the ones that you're going to be utilizing when you first start building something. So for instance, on the bottom here, you see each structure is going to cost 4 common goods. Then when you get to the more advanced structures, it's going to cost 4 common goods and 2 rare goods. And then when you get to the ultimate structure, it's going to cost you 4 of the rare goods and 3 of the common goods. I also do want to mention real quick that there is an advanced part to the skill map. I recommend playing with this as opposed to the first one, because it gives you more choices and more different ways to play. So this is the same as last time, where you have to start at the bottom and build your way up. But let's just say you build this, and then next you build right here. You have the choice whether or not you would like A or B ability. You put another thing on there, and it will get you a special ability and 2 victory points. So you're going to have common goods, you're going to have rare goods, and scattered about inside of those are going to be what are called artifact cards. And artifact cards are what you love to see. They are fantastic. So when you first draw an artifact card, you are going to move the Discovery Dawning time track, because the game is going to get a little bit closer to ending. But when you draw an artifact card, and hopefully you can see this because the graphic design is really, really tiny text, you're going to be able to choose one option. The options are all really good. You can draw any one Mystique cards, which these 3 cards up here, which are very useful. You'll be able to disable and enable other people's camps, so you can essentially attack other people's camps, because there is some take that in this game. Become a wild resource, so you can use this to build something else, or potentially destroy any ambush or boost in play, and those are helpful cards that other people will utilize and use against you, as you can guess, but ambush. Or you can rotate any venture card. Now, that's not going to make much sense now, but needless to say, artifacts are awesome. Another way to win the game that I completely forgot to mention, because there's lots of different ways, is that you can try and collect all 3 parts of this scroll right here. You can collect all 3 parts of the scroll, you automatically win the game. Game over. It doesn't matter if you have 0 victory points. If you can collect all 3 parts of the scroll, you win the game. But there are only 3 in the entire game. There's 1 in the rare, there's 1 in the common, and then there's 1 in the venture deck. Let's talk some more about these decks up here. The ambush deck is one that you're going to purchase. It's going to cost you any 3 blue resources, as you can tell by the fact that the resources are any 3 commons, which are the blue resources. And these are just going to be different ways that you can attack your opponents. And they're bad, you'll put them face down, and until you've used them, they're going to be worth 2 leaf points to you. So if the game ends abruptly, you have a whole bunch of these, you're not actually screwed, because those could help you win the game if it ends by the time running out. But these are going to attack other people. They'll say exactly what they do. And also here on the bottom left, it'll tell you how many of those cards are in the deck. Boost, on the other hand, is just going to help you out. They're great cards that will do some cool things that will help you out. So, Gift of the Tide. On your turn, you may flip this card face up and discard it for its effect. Provides 1 of any resource. So, essentially, it's just a wild resource. These cards are also going to be good. And once again, it will potentially give you leaf points at the end of the game if the game ends by the time running out. Next, we have venture cards, which will really add some spice and variety to the game, because there are 2 sides to a venture card. There's the top side, which is the good side, which will give you a special ability. Rotate this card at the end of your turn, draw +3 resources, and advance the Discovery Dawning track +1. So if you're trying to end the game, or if you really need resources, this is a great card to have. But once you flip it over, it's going to do something negative. It's going, after drawing, discard all but 8 resource cards. And if you're drawing a lot of resource cards, well, then that's going to be really kind of a handcuff if you can only keep 8 of them. And the artifact cards are going to allow you to flip these and do various different things with them. But there's lots of cool cards in them. My favorite one, I do believe, especially in the 4-player game, is one that lets you trade even when it's not your turn. So it just actively keeps you involved in the game. I don't remember if I mentioned that in the pros and cons. That's one of my favorite aspects of this game, is in a 4-player game. If you have that card, you are always involved in trading, because you don't even have to trade with the person whose turn it is, and the trades get really creative in this game. One more thing I really enjoyed about it. Last but not least, card-wise, we have the Catalyst cards. I mentioned them a little bit briefly, so I won't go too much into these. And these ones are just going to give you a special objective that you need to complete. And if you complete it, you will put a victory point on it, and that will go towards your total of cards that you have on the victory point. So, let's get started, and I'll show you exactly what's going to happen on your turn, because your turn, much like a lot of things in this game, is very free form. During your turn, you are going to be able to do any of the actions, which are all listed here. I hope they come with a handy-dandy little cheat card, and you get to do them, and then at the end of your turn, you're going to draw resources. And there are going to be some turns when you're, especially early on in the game, where you're like, I don't want to trade, I don't want to do anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and end my turn and draw up the cards. But what can you do on your turn? You can build or upgrade, and you're going to just have to spend the goods and the resources to do that, but then you'll be able to build on there, and you'll have a special ability. Next, you can buy any of the Mystique cards out here for how much they cost. You can only buy 1 per turn, of course, unless you build this building right here, which will allow you to buy numerous ones, which is a good strategy if you're trying to go for that scroll, and you're like, I really need to get through those venture cards so I can get that secret scroll. But also because the venture cards are very, very powerful and can do a lot of cool things for you. Or, excuse me, these cards right here, all of them pretty much, are very viable and useful cards. Next, you can activate any number of camp and venture abilities you have acquired. That just means you can use your special ability on there. So for instance, this side is all about the Catalyst cards. These are going to give you different ways that you can win the game, extra points. You know, it might mean that you're going to be discarding cards and drawing back up the cards, or doing a number of different things. You can use your artifacts that you have in front of you. There's really fancy, awesome cards we talked about a little bit earlier that look like this, that will give you a whole bunch of different special abilities. You get to pick one of them. You can initiate and execute any number of trades, and this is something I really liked about the game. You can trade just about anything in the game. Obviously, you can't trade like victory points and stuff like that. But you can trade and you can say, all right, in a future turn I will do this, and the game makes it so that you are committed to do that if you agree to do that. Last but not least, you can play a boost card or an ambush card. You just flip it over, you discard it, and then you will gain the special ability, or someone else will be ambushed, which will hurt them. And at the end of your turn, you're going to draw any 4 resources, and you have to say what you're going to draw before it's your turn. So before you draw them. So you might say, I'm going to take 3 commons and 1 rare. I'm going to take 4 rares. I'm going to take 2 and 2. Any combination of the sort. And if you get a whole bunch of adventure cards and a bunch of crazy stuff going on, you might be drawing up to like 8, 9, 10 cards because the cards all stack up on top of each other and there's duplicates of each card. But anyway, you're going to continue. You're going to rinse, wash, and repeat. You're going to be playing boosts and ambush and trying to complete catalysts and getting cool venture cards and building buildings and doing all sorts of stuff like that, trying to win the game by getting 4 points, getting all of the scrolls, or by moving the Discovery Dawning track all the way down to the finish. And whoever wins the game at that point, and whoever way the game ends, is going to be the winner of the game. And that, in a nutshell, is how the Bermuda Crisis is played. Alrighty then, the Bermuda Crisis, Discovery Dawning from Lysander Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go to the pros, let's go to the cons. First, on the con side of the game, it's not going to be for everybody for a couple of different reasons. 2 to 4 player, very restricted player count. Also, the game plays differently with 2 players versus with 4 players. 2 players, now I'm going to tell you right now, I like the game, and I'm going to recommend the game, but with 2 players, it plays very well with 2 players. There are some elements that go out the window, especially the trading. The trading kind of falls to the wayside, especially with all the different venture cards and buildings that will let you draw a bunch of resources and trade in resources and draw new resources, all that sort of stuff. So the trading kind of takes a hit with 2 players. Whereas the 4-player game, I really enjoyed it with 4 players, but it does tend to drag and stretch out, which is not a good thing, but it's not terrible. It's not like one of those games where you're going to be getting bored in between turns, because with 4 players, as I mentioned, there's going to be lots of trading, especially if you get one of the common venture cards that allows you to trade at any point on your turn. But I'm talking about pros. Let's keep talking about cons. Continuing on with the cons. The artwork is really weird and out there, and it looks like it was drawn by like numerous different artists, and some of it doesn't really fit thematically with the game, but granted, I don't know what the theme is really about, so maybe it does. I'm just not sure about the artwork. Some people are going to think it looks incredibly amateurish, and I will say I think it looks amateurish. That being said, I still did enjoy the artwork in the game. Any other cons I have in it? Yeah, the card, the text, the graphic design is way, way too tiny. The text and the graphic design is just too freaking tiny, and it's annoying. I really hope in the version that you guys get that they make the text bigger, especially on some of the cards, because it's just really hard to read on these catalysts and the ventures and the ambush and the boosts of the card text. You're like, what's going on here? And that is annoying. Also, another graphic design choice is on your basic skill map and your advanced skill map. They decided to make it so that instead of just saying resources in white, which everyone could see, they tried to get a little bit clever and actually use the color resources that you could trade in to get that card, which in theory sounds like a brilliant idea, but in practice it's really difficult to read. For instance, the black ambush card has a very dark blue on it, and it's just really hard to see. And when I first read the cards, it says resources, and I thought it just said RSUCS, because some of the words were just blending in. It's just a minor graphical design problem that I hope they fix before it gets to you. Any other cons with it? Last con I have, the rule booklet. The rule booklet is really long and daunting and repetitive, and it gets to the point where you're like, God, you've said that like 5 times! And I just hate when that happens. One more thing I do want to mention is in the rule booklet, it says that you can play with what some people are using the basic skills map and other people using the advanced skills map. I just don't recommend that. We tried that out, and about halfway through the game, the person with the basic skills map was like, can I switch sides? I feel like you just have more choices, and that's about true. But moving on to the pros. I enjoyed the Bermuda Crisis. My wife enjoyed the Bermuda Crisis. Everyone I played this with enjoyed this, and a lot of people were not expecting much out of this game. The theme is pretty much pasted on another con, but this game really gives you some interesting choices on how you want to win the game. I love the fact that there's numerous different ways to win the game. You want to go for scrolls? Well, then you can just, when you get that first scroll, you can just start going crazy trying to draw the second scroll and then the third scroll, and you can just focus your entire game plan into getting those scrolls. You want to end the game quickly? Leap, 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 leap. Just get all these leaves, because you might have got that +7 venture card that allows you to have a whole bunch of leaves, but be on the wayside because someone might just flip that around, and then you're at -7, and that's terrible. I like how there's the catalyst cards. So you can be completing objectives, you can be building buildings, you can be trying to end the game quickly, you can be trying to go for the scrolls. There's just numerous different ways to win the game, and each one, at least in my time playing, seems like a viable option. Now, granted, when you're playing with less or more players, some of them are going to be more or less difficult to do. Obviously, with 4 players, it's going to be a lot harder to get those scrolls, especially when you're going for that 3rd scroll, because nobody's going to trade it to you. And in fact, it clarifies in the rules numerous times that no one can trade it to you, which is just like, really? Okay, you can't intentionally give up the game. I think we kind of figured that one out. So I like the numerous different paths to victory. I like the fact that there is a basic skills map and an advanced skills map. I don't think any gamer, like regular gamer, would ever really want to go with a basic skills map, but it's a nice feature that it is on the back. This could have just been wasted space. They're like, no, we're going to try and cater to newer gamers, and I think they do. I think that this definitely can fit a bill as a game night game if you routinely hit 2 to 4 players, as a great couples game if you're both people who like to game, and even potentially as a gateway game if you're using the basic skills map and you teach it, because it's not too hard to teach to other people. I mean, in all honesty, you have a set amount of things you can do on your turn. Oh, that's one more thing I'd like to see included in the game. I would like to have a reference card that tells you all the different things you could do on your turn. I think that would be incredibly useful, because sometimes you just forget. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. I forgot to do this. As if you cannot tell, I was thoroughly impressed with this game. I really had a lot of fun with it. I was pleasantly surprised by Bermuda Crisis Discovery Dawn. Coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. I'll be sure to post the Kickstarter link down below. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below, and in the comments below, let me know where is the best vacation you've taken that was sunny, that was nice and tropical. I went on the Bud Light Port Paradise cruise. I saw Dave Matthews Band on a private island. I just got drank like crazy, and it was without a doubt the best vacation I've ever had in my life. It cost me a relationship though, but I tell you what, that relationship was toxic anyway. It was well worth it. Man, I got some stories. But anyway, what is your best tropical sunny vacation? It doesn't have to be tropical, just a sunny vacation, someplace that you love to go, either when you're a kid or now. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.